Hello, my darlings, and happy Monday of VEDA, first official Monday of VEDA. I spent the entire day today in a car, almost the entire day in a car, taking my grandmother to a doctor's appointment. I rode with my aunt who actually drove. And on my way, I tried to watch Alyssa's last video, but my phone service decided they only wanted me to see the first 2 minutes. So I did happen to see Alyssa, though, because I went to the town where she lives for my grandmother's doctor's appointment. And I know that she kind of went over, like, some things that she reads regularly. So I wanted to do something kind of similar in response to that, except I just realized that April is National Poetry Month. For some reason, I thought that was February. But apparently it's April, and I double-checked on the internet to make sure, and April is National Poetry Month. So I thought I would show you guys some of my favorite collections of poetry, and maybe read you a poem. I thought about a lot of different things I could do. I really considered singing you guys, Emily Dickinson's poem, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, to the tune of Gilligan's Island, because you can totally do that. So, I'm not going to do that today, because I'm not really prepared for it. But, all of you guys try that, and then tell me in the comments if you tried to sing Because I Could Not Stop to Death to the tune of Gilligan's Island. And if you really, really, really want me to do that, you can tell me that in the comments too, and one of my future videos will be me making a fool of myself singing, Emily Dickinson's very dreary Because I Could Not Stop for Death to the very upbeat tune of the Gilligan's Island theme song. But first I'm going to start out with like some just single authors, and I've kind of, I scoured my poetry shelf, and this isn't all of my poetry books, it's just a couple of them. The first one is The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot, and I had to include it because it contains one of my favorite lines from poetry. As you can see, lots of underlining here. But my favorite, well, one of my favorite poems or lines from poetry is from the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. And it just says, "Do I dare disturb the universe?" And that kind of, along with an Emily Dickinson poem, are kind of like my mantra. Like, do I dare disturb the universe? And I kind of ask, like, I don't ask myself that every day, but it's kind of like, whenever I think about, should I do this or should I not? You know, should I let this slide or should I do it? I kind of think back on that line of poetry. So, The Wasteland is, of course, like it's a really long poem, but this good collection has a couple of his shorter poems as well. T.S. Eliot is kind of like a great mix between, like, Edgar Allan Poe for, like, dreek and dreary and, you know, bleak, but also a little bit, it's really great imagery in his poetry too. So T.S. Eliot is a good starting point if you don't really read a lot of poetry. Most of my poetry is older stuff. So the next two are collections that I was inspired to buy by other people. This one is Rilke. And I actually bought this collection of poetry after I read Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater because they, the main characters read from this all the time. And this is a really good collection where one poem is written in German and then it's translated into English on the opposite page. So I always think that's really cool because, not that I can read any other languages, but I do think it's pretty neat to see things in the language they were written in. That's always impressive to me. And then the second collection is, I'm going to butcher this woman's name, and I will apologize in advance. I don't speak Polish, and I'm really, really terrible at those languages. But it's by Wisław Szymborska, and she actually passed away in 2013, I think. And I had never heard of her, even though she was the 1996 Nobel Prize winner for literature. And I thought to myself, like, how do you not know any poems by this woman? Like, how have you never heard of her? I took multiple English classes in college, and I never ever even heard this woman's name. So I was kind of like, that stinks. And as you can see, like, I mark up my poetry stuff. Sometimes I put little flags in them, and sometimes I just highlight and mark. But this is a really, like, her poetry is beautiful, and I really just have enjoyed it. I read poetry collections strangely. I pick them off my shelf, and I just open to random pages, and then I read whatever poem is there. I rarely start at the beginning of a book of poetry and read it all the way to the end, because I don't think that is a very good way to consume poetry. I think it should be just done individually in small portions. This is getting long, so I'm going to skip to the next part. If you guys, I don't know if you read poems or not, if you're poetry readers. A lot of people have trouble with poetry, but I find it very soothing. So my next round is, if you don't know if you like poetry, but you maybe want to try it, these are really good choices. Oh my goodness, it's so bright. That helps. These are really good choices for starting out. The first one is Major British Poets, and it's cool because it's broken down by each poet individually. It's really tiny, so you can't see it, but it just tells you the poet's name and when he lived, and it's kind of chronological on, like, lifespan, you know. Starts with Blake and goes through... I used to know because I read it. Dylan Thomas. So this is a really good, it's all British poetry. I tend to prefer old school British poems more. And this one has one of the poems I was going to read you in it. And it's not very long. But I have, I love Walt Whitman and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau as far as quoting things or having like epic things that mean something. But I don't tend to like transcendentalist poetry. So this is a poem by D.H. Lawrence called Retort to Whitman, and it just says, "And whoever walks a mile full of false sympathy walks to the funeral of the human race," which is a response to Leaves of Grass. So I always keep this handy because they always have some sassy things to say about transcendentalism. The next one is the Premier Book of Major Poets, and it also is... Oh, no, it's not. This one is broken up into subjects. So, like, here are poems about nature. And then you can go to the back and read a short biography of each of the poets inside the book. And then in the very back, there's an index of authors. So you can look up your favorite author. If, for example, you love Thomas Hardy, you can just look under H and see where his poems are. Or maybe you just want something to speak to you differently. There's an index of titles. So maybe I would like to read a book about, or a poem about autumn. Then I can read To Autumn on page 36. So it's just a cool, I really like the way, titles, and then index of first lines. I like the way this one is broken up. There's a lot of different options for you if you want to read, because you can pick subject, you can pick author, you can pick, you can just look at first lines and see what kind of appeals to you, or you can read title names. So I really enjoy that, and it's very good. I have a lot of different things marked in this one too. I like to discover new poets in books like this. And then, if you would like poetry, but you want to see a lot of different poets, this is a great book, The Best Poems of the English Language, according to Harold Bloom, who has provided commentary on various poems in this novel, or this collection, but he is like a really like big deal humanities professor at Yale and stuff, and he's done a lot of other books as well. He's got like a huge list. I feel like I read about this somewhere, but I didn't, because I didn't just see this and pick it up, but I feel like I read about it somewhere and then got it. But this one is another one that's arranged by author, so it kind of starts with Chaucer, and obviously, and goes through William Frost. So again, it's kind of older stuff. Frost is not really a modern poet by any means. It has a lot of poems by, just different people. Emily Bronte, Tennyson, who is one of my favorite poets. So, this would be my recommended, well, probably not. The Premier Book of Major Poets would be my recommendation if you want to read poetry, but you don't normally and you want to start somewhere. This is a really good collection. It has long stuff, it has short stuff, it has story poems, love poems, creature poems, nature poems. So it really has a lot of things for you to explore. So, it's my #1 recommendation. Like I said, if you guys read poetry, or you like poetry, or you write poetry, or you think poetry is stupid, just tell me your thoughts and feelings about poetry in the comments, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Hope you all had a great day. Bye!